One of the most successful horror franchises is adding another part to it, and this one may as well be the final case for Ed and Lorraine Warren on the big screen. Horror fans who like their scares with a healthy dose of romance don't have to wait a lot of time. The movie is in the works, and it will be released sooner than you thought. So stay with me until the end, as I have some really exciting news to share with you. Now, let's kick off with a short recap. Without a doubt, The Conjuring is one of the best horror franchises ever, and the reason for that is probably because the series follows a couple of real-life paranormal experts and demonologists, Ed and Lorraine Warren. All the Conjuring movies are in fact embellishments of their various cases, and while they were well known in some circles at the time, throughout the 1970s and 1980s, with a lot of spin-offs utilizing cases that were not presented in the Conjuring movies, the franchise has increased its notoriety and fame over the past few years. Movies like The Nun, The Curse of La Llorona, and of course, the Annabelle franchise, they're all coming from Warren's cases. I never doubted that this franchise would end with the third movie, and those who are following these kinds of movies are well aware that plenty of other cases, worked by Ed and Lorraine, are begging to get the big screen treatment. The script writer this time again will be David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick. David wrote the script for The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, as well as The Conjuring 2. The last movie pushed the franchise to over $2 billion at the global box office in 2021. Which makes it the most successful horror franchise ever. The Conjuring director, James Wan, confirmed that the movie is in the works back in October. For Collider, he said, "Yeah, we're working on it right now. With the Conjuring films, we're very precious about them. And so we kind of want to just take our time to make sure we get it right and to make sure the emotion of the Warren stories that we want to tell and moving into and potentially wrapping up, we just want to make sure that it's the right thing, the right story that we're telling." Okay, let's go back to the previous movie a little bit. Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. If you abandoned your desire to watch movies about haunted houses, then this movie is definitely for you. David Fincher's movies follow some kind of schedule. There is a creepy old man leading you to some creaky basements, and a complete stranger follows him down. All the same, just to get some clues and evidence of murders. This movie is no different, but to some degree, it operates as a mediocre police thriller. Okay, so there is a mysterious serial murder case, which is intriguing enough, but emerges amid the film's confusing tone. And you can guess, there is someone obsessed enough to solve this, so has to voluntarily go down the rabbit hole in order to crack it. In the movie, which, to remind you again, is based on a true story case, Ed and Lorraine Warren are dealing with one of the hardest cases during 1981. They were called to hit that like button just like you should if you haven't done so already. No, really. They were called to document the exorcism of the adolescent David Glatzel, haunted by the grip of an evil force. In the aftermath, Arnie commits a horrific murder with recognizable visual nods, so the Warrens slowly start uncovering similar crimes that took place in the area. Farmiga and Wilson had the honor to portray the two of the most iconic figures of contemporary horror. I'll stop talking about the previous movies now, and I'll focus on the most important question here. What's coming up next? As I mentioned before, James Wan officially confirmed that the movie is on the way. Peter Safran and James Wan will return to co-produce the movie. Most likely, Michael Chavez will be the one taking the director's helm. After all, he already directed The Nun 2 and The Conjuring 3. New Line Cinema is currently preparing production, and this is a huge departure from where the franchise plan stood a few years prior. Now that the movie has been greenlit, the speculations become louder. So even though there's no concrete release date yet for The Conjuring 4, the writers, producers, and cast members of the previous movies have all said they'd be happy to jump in again. Between the first two movies, there was a 3-year gap and another 5 years to The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. So taking in mind that the script was just finished, we could expect this movie to be released probably mid to late 2024. Now let's talk about the cast. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but I'd be really surprised if Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson are replaced with different actors for the roles of Ed and Lorraine Warren. In their latest interview on this topic, Farmiga said, "Oh my god, I'd love to continue. It's interesting. We have to up the fear in each one. Demonology is already so high-pitched and operatic. We constantly want to push these characters. I would like to for no other reason than I would want to keep playing opposite Vera," added Wilson. As for the other cast members from the previous movies, their daughter Judy Warren, initially played by Sterling Jarrins, might be the only one that will return for this part as well. In this movie, Warrens will pick up another supernatural case, so it's expected that The Conjuring 4 will see an entirely new set of characters. Now, before I move on with the possible storyline, I'd like to mention a few events that make this franchise so special. Trust me, this will give you some goosebumps. Even if you're one of those saying that it's not superstitious, you might get a little nervous if you go to a place that everybody says is haunted. And we know that The Conjuring is based on a real story. But even the filming had quite a few real-life scary stories of its own. Did you know that the actors used to smash that subscribe button and hit that notification bell? No, really. In all seriousness, did you know that the actors involved in the previous movies, the Warrens, were strongly affected by the dramatization and the case itself? Some things happened during the production, and it's too creepy to be just a coincidence. Vera Farmiga certainly felt a weird presence. Even though she professed herself to be a clairvoyant medium, she found herself repeatedly and mysteriously walking between 3 and 4 in the morning on set, which is quite upsetting to even speak about. Now, what should be the main focus of this movie? I'll give you a hint. The legend of the White Lady at the Union Cemetery in Easton, Connecticut. Warrens didn't investigate this case since the beginning, but they wrote a book about it, and they were claiming to have a video of the White Lady in action. I can tell you that I know for a fact that this place is haunted. It's one of the most haunted places around, said the real Lorraine Warren. Warrens investigated over 10,000 cases, but some left a huge mark on their lives. Back in 1986, they were included in an investigation of the Smurl haunting and the Snedeker house haunting. Both houses were supposedly infested by demons. In fact, the 2009's The Haunting in Connecticut was based on this case. A family moved into an old house in Southington just to find out that their home had once served as a funeral parlor. The events are mostly centered around Philip, one of the 4 kids in the family. Yet again, why don't they revisit Amityville as well? It's a well-known story based on the Warrens case. A family moved into 112 Ocean Avenue in December of 1975. They moved into a Dutch colonial home with a dark history. Whatever the plot may be, I'm sure it will be scary and incredible. And what about you? What do you think will be the storyline in this movie? Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.